Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Leo energy. And we're going to do this 10 card spread and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because life's about learning lessons and tempering our more shadowy egoic nature, our pride, our ego, our fear, our insecurity, our immaturity, our defensiveness, our self-centeredness, our more materialistic, self-indulgent nature. And some people have learned some of those lessons more so than other people. So the people who are a more shadowy energy will be more tempted when these cards are looking to the past. They're more tempted to kind of give in to repeating a pattern because they haven't learned to kind of temper their more egoic nature. And some people can be tempted by things, but they don't want to repeat that old pattern, a way of living life or viewing life or behaving. And in the middle of the reading, we have the Page of Cups, kind of like wishing peace to it and people, and then the Judgment card holding themselves accountable. So, anyway, that's what we're going to do at the end. We're going to get some cards of what could be a possible outcome for people, depending on if they harness a more high vibe Leo energy or a more worldly or shadowy energy. You could feel some people in your life are kind of more immature or self-indulgent. Those people in turn could find some people in their life kind of immature or self-indulgent or bossy or whatever. So it is kind of relative. And just this might be something that particularly people who are a Leo sun sign or have significant Leo placements might be dealing with in their life. But we all tap into Leo energy. We either can align with our more egoic nature or our more hopeful, believing nature and being more authentically ourselves instead of operating from our ego. So it can affect all of us. So I view this as the overarching reason for the reading, the Ace of Cups, which could represent all three of the water sign energies, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. If emotionally you're more aligned with your hopeful, believing nature, you have hope and faith and belief in yourself, in your dreams, and in love. And if emotionally you're kind of more invested in loving yourself or the world in a more shadowy way, you're kind of still more emotionally invested in those things. And that's probably what people are going to invest in emotionally, is kind of their perspective. So we start out with the Hangman, the Ace of Wands, and the Moon card. And again, the Ace of Wands can represent all three of the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. At the end of the reading, we have the Strength card, which is Leo, and the Four of Pentacles, which is Capricorn. We either want to keep repeating an old pattern, or we've kind of been enlightened to the truth, and we're ready to take the lessons we've learned from that to move forward in life differently. But in our fire sign energy, I do kind of think that's the last one to get on board. Because in our fire sign energy of these things that we're fired up and motivated and inspired by, for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're pretty motivated and inspired by all these things of the world. And in our heart, in our mind, in our 3D nature, we kind of might want to move forward in life a little differently. But until our fire sign energy of Aries and Sagittarius and Leo is kind of ready to get more out of being more inspired by those things of the world and be inspired to look at life differently, we're going to keep being more motivated and inspired by these things of the world. Then high vibe Aquarius and the Six of Swords of looking at life from a higher perspective that, maybe there is more to life. I might have made my life all about having a certain status or image or money or certain relationships or certain things I used to indulge in that I thought was living the dream. And then it kind of can get to be where you feel stuck, is what the Hangman can talk about. And we can feel stuck because it is the universe trying to get us to look at life from a different perspective, and maybe high vibe energy is getting more balance within yourself. That, when is enough? And when is it just being about us or our ego or image or money or materialism or indulgent enough? And when do we want more balance in our life? Yes, I want some of these things of the world, but am I sacrificing love? Am I in jobs that I love? Am I in friendships and relationships with people that I love, that love me? And then, that maybe there's a higher purpose to being here and it's more than just what the world tells us we should make our life about. So some people become enlightened to the truth because they did live their life making their life about those things. And then they kind of get inspired to listen to their intuition, where maybe before their intuition could have kind of been trying to tell them, you're making your life more about these things, you're kind of tipped out of balance, you're kind of being controlling or manipulative, or being controlled or manipulated by your fear, your insecurity, your lust, your greed, your ego, by other people in your life, by the world. High vibe Leo, 2 cards here of Leo energy, is kind of seeing the truth that when we operate more from our worldly egoic nature, we're kind of not growing to our full potential. And we're maybe not living our authentic truth. And, we might have been more inspired by ego or trying to change other people. And it's like, how about we quit trying to change other people and we accept that they are where they're at? They want to live their life the way they want to live it. And if the way they want to live it doesn't seem to be aligned with being more authentic or taking accountability for their actions or being more loving, we wish them peace. And so then people could be kind of inspired when they feel kind of stuck to kind of work through kind of the emotional confusion of it. These are these things that I wanted to hold on to. There were these things that I'm motivated and inspired by and the people in my life, but I kind of feel stuck. And sometimes it is because we're offering them love. But are they offering us love? The moon card can kind of represent that maybe other people kind of create the illusion of love and that they love us, but maybe the reason they're in it is more from pride or ego or fear or insecurity or codependency or materialism. And are we both willing to do love, or does one person do love, the other person really doesn't? Well, is that just and fair? The judgment card is kind of makes me think of Libra energy of the scales of justice. Love is supposed to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And the pages can mean that people really are being authentic. And maybe the other people kind of indulge your more immature nature. And they've decided, I want to invest very little. I don't really want to do love. I will enjoy myself in the relationship. That's kind of shadowy fire sign energy. It's just like people can be in a relationship or a job. Yeah, I'll stay in this job. I'll work here. Will I put in the same work and effort as someone who is really motivated and inspired to be in this job, or who is motivated to put in work and effort to feel proud of themselves, that they acted with character and integrity, that they, and some people don't want to do that. Some people want to try to cheat the system. I want to put in as little work as an effort or invest as little emotionally as I have to, or work and effort to get people to let me keep staying in this job or relationship. And that can be people who try to get people to move forward with them, but they don't really want to open up. They don't really want to move forward in life differently. They want to move away from being illuminated to the truth, and they want other people to keep moving forward with them. We either see the truth, and the truth sets us free to live our life differently, or we kind of want to stay in denial of the truth. And if there's some people who are maybe a little more stubborn, prideful, fearful, selfish, materialistic, have illusions about what it means to work together with people, kind of think it is maybe more about them and that people should indulge them. Well, anybody they can get to indulge them living their life that way, hey man, that's like the dream life. This works for me. Let's keep doing it. As long as it's good for my ego, my image, and my status, and everybody's willing to stay in denial of the truth. Nobody's calling judgment on me. Nobody's requiring me that I be more authentic. The sun is kind of the opposite of the moon, that I be more authentic, come out from my ego or my defensive nature or my stubborn nature or my bossy nature or my immature nature or my selfish nature or my more materialistic view of things, to really put in work and effort to bring that dream into reality. Well, this works for me. Yeah. And, there can be people, sometimes I kind of wonder if some people who are more shadowy could have went through some life experiences of their own where they could have known people when they were young. This is what the Page of Cups can represent. Who did act kind of more stubborn and prideful and immature, bossy, controlling, and it seemed to work out for them. And then they could have seen other people who are loving and encouraging, and sometimes those people kind of went along with them. And they never did kind of really deal with the truth of some of those issues. And they could have felt like they had to go along with some of those people. And they could have decided, you know what, it seems like the people who are more of the loving, nurturing, supportive people get taken advantage of. And I could have felt like I was taken advantage of too. But then in their way of viewing life, it could have been, if loving people get more manipulated and taken advantage of, boy, that's not going to be me anymore. I'm going to hide my more loving nature, and I am going to align with, I'm going to be the person who's more bossy and controlling and manipulative. And if there's people in the world who kind of don't want to stand up for themselves and what they believe in, perfect. Then I guess I'll get what I want, instead of trying to work together more with people from love. So I think sometimes some shadowy people, they reject their more loving nature because they think that makes them vulnerable to being manipulated or hurt. And I don't want to do that. So they could look at like loving people as suckers, people to manipulate. Because they know loving people want these dreams to come into reality, and they can put in a lot of work and effort to try to make those dreams come into reality. But loving people have lessons to learn. And when they are dealing with people who are more prideful, egotistical, more motivated and inspired by themselves or the world or their ego or their image, caught up in the illusion of the world, maybe are kind of immature, bossy, controlling, have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, eventually through life experiences, some high vibe people get tired of repeating that pattern, and they kind of wonder, why is this happening? Why does this kind of happen over and over? And we can all get caught up in the illusion of people, and we can all have hope and faith and belief that, because you choose love and you believe in love, you think other people will, of course, choose love and believe in love. But we have to be illuminated to the truth that everybody's got free will, kind of in the judgment card. I can either work through my fears and my insecurities and my more being about myself and my more immature nature and my more codependent nature, and I can hold myself accountable. And some people in the world did that. And they weren't willing to give up their dreams and live their life from their ego and their more worldly, materialistic, fearful, codependent nature. But it can take a long time. It's a process of becoming. And eventually people do get to be where, they get more inspired, where maybe before they were kind of more inspired by these things of the world. And then it's like, I need to be more inspired to look at life from a higher perspective and put things in perspective. And I could have before more of a shadowy Aquarius energy where I could get caught up in my head and I could have gotten up in my fears and afraid my dreams wouldn't come into reality. That instead of wanting to see the truth, I was fearful of believing in myself and believing in my dreams and kind of standing up for what I believed in. So I kind of kept repeating this pattern. But there comes a time, where I'm not going to do that anymore. And I do want to see the truth and deal with the truth. And it starts within me, because the King of Wands is Aries energy, which is about the self. You're either more about yourself or you grow and mature yourself. And you're inspired by your more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And I realize that there's certain things and ways of being that if I don't want to repeat certain patterns, why would I be drawn and attracted to certain people? There's something also within me that can draw and attract me to certain people. I am going to look at life from a different perspective. Pisces energy is emotional water sign energy, also about expanding my perception of myself and the world and what I believe is possible. Because that is the beginning of what we do believe is possible, And when I expand my perception of myself and the world and what I believe is possible, that's when I can start to get inspired to work through some of my fears and my insecurities that I might keep buried beneath the surface, and see kind of how these things of the world that I love could kind of tip me out of balance. And it keeps me, in tarot, we have to learn lessons through the pages, and then the knights, then the kings and the queens. And kind of once we've learned all those lessons and we've kind of driven our life off into the ditch in different ways, then we've kind of learned those lessons. But before, we could have been holding back from making some decisions we needed to make in our life, because both Aquarius is represented by the star and then Leo is represented by the sun. Am I willing to stand in my truth, shine my light in a way, and stand up for what I believe in? And that requires that I make better decisions in my life. And the Emperor, which anyone can harness, male or female, I've learned all these lessons through the cycle of the pages when I was more young and immature. I let my heart run my life. I let my mind run my life. I let my worldly nature, my passionate nature, my immature nature. And then I went through the night stage and I learned lessons there, and I was fighting for all these different things, but I was still at different phases, letting my heart run my life, let my mind, blah, blah, blah. And then I went through the queens and I went through the kings. And then eventually, as a high vibe emperor, you've kind of learned all the lessons of all the kings, and emotionally, you would be an empress energy, very balanced and stable within yourself. I've learned all the lessons of all the queens. Again, I let my heart run my life. I let my mind, my passion, my lust, my worldly nature. And kind of having learned that all four aspects are equally important. And then this card is holding all four pentacles. And the pentacles can kind of represent those lessons we've learned and those truths. And in tarot, we have the four suits of the deck: our emotional nature, our thoughts, our truth, our creative nature, our inspired nature, our passionate nature, and then our more worldly nature. And Capricorn, the Four of Pentacles is Capricorn, and shadowy Capricorn is the devil. Again, in our Capricorn nature, we either have a lot of these things that still manipulate us, and our fears and our insecurities and our lust and our greed and all that, or we kind of learned all those lessons and we're ready to make better decisions in our life, realizing if I let one, two, or three aspects of myself take precedent and I don't respect that things have to be kind of aligned with all four aspects. I have my emotional nature. I can't go do things that emotionally kind of aren't aligned with my truth. I do in my mind, I have my truth and my intellect and my intelligence. To go do things where I kind of try to disregard that is probably not going to work out well. My passionate creative nature, thinking, oh, that's unimportant. I can do this. I don't have, it might not be very passionate or creative or inspiring, but that's like having a boring job, right? And doing things just for the money or the status or the image when it's just not aligned with your truth or what you love or what inspires you, it makes you feel stuck. And that's when you kind of do this work that I'm going to offer love to myself for all these lessons I've learned and had to learn. And I realize everybody else is kind of on their journey of learning these lessons in life. And some people have learned some more lessons than other people. Some people haven't. And that is life. People are where they are at in kind of their journey of learning these lessons, and they had the free will choice to disregard certain aspects as being less important, that they don't focus their time, energy, and effort on, and they're going to learn their own lessons. But in order for our dreams to come into reality, we kind of need to see the truth of who is being more authentic, more loving, more tempered in their immature egoic nature, and who isn't. To look for people who kind of on the same page as us at the same time. Because we could all look back at our life and we look at different phases like, gosh, I remember when I did this, and how long did I do that? How long did it take me before I kind of realized I was kind of going down a wrong path? How long did it take me to learn that lesson? It can take years and decades. It takes some people all their life because, again, we have to be willing to deal with the truth. We have to be willing to temper our ego to even admit, maybe I have some lessons to learn in life. Maybe I am kind of being stubborn. Maybe I am kind of controlling. Maybe I do kind of think it's all about me. Maybe I am kind of immature. Maybe I am kind of secretive. Maybe I am full of myself, And some people are more stubborn and prideful and full of themselves than some other people, you know? And the more stubborn and prideful or bossy or controlling, or the more they are about themselves or caught up in things that kind of got a stranglehold on them, whether that's indulging in things to make themselves feel better, or I need a certain status and image or money and materialism, or, they're all like addictions, and if that's what's most important to them, that's what they're going to keep pursuing, because that kind of is their truth. And some people are very prideful or stubborn. They do not want to look at life from any other perspective. They are inspired by the illusion of themselves or the illusion of the things that they make their life about that they are sure will make them happy, or to kind of hide from love. And that can be people that, I don't think I have to do love. I think I can use my emotions manipulatively. I can use my sexuality manipulatively. I can use my resources, my status, my image, my money, all those things. I can use them all manipulatively. And I think I can get people to stay in a relationship with me because I turn my back and I might not even believe in love. I might think that's an illusion. And I might think some people who are caught up in the illusion of love are ridiculous. They got to get a clue This is a dog eat dog world. People get in relationships with people that they can get along with good enough for the certain status and image and the stability and the security. And that's how they view life. And they maybe can't even comprehend that other people don't think like that. Other people don't just want the illusion of looking like their dream came into reality because they're so consumed with their ego or their image, or so consumed with it having to be about them, that that's the most important thing. I need to be in a relationship with someone who's stuck, who I don't think will ever get over some of their fears or their insecurities or their more worldly view of life. Those are the type of people I want to be in a relationship with. The people who are more fearful, insecure, codependent, materialistic, because that's maybe how they are. And then that's the kind of relationships they like to be in. And we can all have gotten in relationships because we felt stuck. Something else didn't maybe work out the way we wanted. We all have been more fearful and afraid and caught up in the illusion of the world. We've all been attracted to people and gotten ourselves in relationships and hoped people would change. And we all could have done that many, many times. But there comes a time where people are ready to look at life differently and they don't want to repeat that pattern anymore. And they offer truth and love and encouragement. And maybe during a lot of those relationships, they could have done that. And the Six of Swords moves away from the Five of Swords, which the 5, the 6, and the 7 are all Aquarius energy. I had a dream I wanted to bring into reality. And there's these people that I like, or places of employment I wanted to keep working at. And I could have offered truth and love and encouragement to people to move forward with me in a more authentic and just and fair and balanced way. But I keep seeing they hold back from making that decision in their life to temper their own ego, deal with their own fears and their own insecurities, or their own bossy nature, or their own more immature nature. And sometimes we stayed in those things for a really long time until, something happened. They moved away, we moved away. Sometimes we still didn't want to see the truth, and we kind of repeated that same pattern again, just with someone else. Like sometimes, say you're drawn and attracted to people who are more kind of spontaneous and crazy, and it's like, oh, they're just so fun and they're just life of the party, and you keep hoping they'll grow up, but they're really kind of more immature, but we keep not wanting to see the truth of it. And then eventually it's kind of like, you know what, I can enjoy people who are like that, but I think I'm going to, maybe enjoy their company, know them in the Page of Cups, like I can know people, but they're not someone I'm going to get in a more involved relationship with, because I've already been in relationships with people who are like that. And if, as I just get to know them without getting more involved in a relationship, even though I might be attracted to them, is what the King of Wands can talk about. I'm not going to, I have a dream, and I've already been in relationships with people who are like that. Or if I, for some reason, maybe I was a person who always tried to change people, to try to get them to work through their fear and insecurity, to look at life differently, have some more hope and faith and belief. I am done doing that. Can I be a kind of a loving and encouraging and supportive person in people's life? Yes. Am I going to get in a more involved relationship if you show me that you're really not someone who does have hope and faith and belief and love, and maybe work through some of your issues to be more authentic and out of your defensive or egoic nature? I'm not going to get in a more involved relationship with you. You stay in the friend zone. Because I've already been there and done that. And if we kind of get in relationships with people, more involved relationships with people, well, then they kind of could lack some incentive to change because they've already got someone kind of moving forward with them in a relationship. And then you do get more emotionally invested and it's harder to leave, right? And then they are who they are and they have the free will to be who they are. You know, if you were got in a relationship with someone and someone's like, well, you should act like this or do this or behave like this or dress like this, or, you know, you wouldn't really like it either. You know, love is respecting each other as individuals. And if you already know people have some ways of being or philosophies of life or ways of behaving or conducting themselves that you know long term is not what you would want in a relationship, quit trying to change other people. Again, the Six of Swords moves away from the Five of Swords, and the Fives can talk about change, where we are trying to change other people and their perspective. We can offer love and encouragement to people to try to encourage them to love and believe in themselves and kind of put things in perspective, work through their fears and insecurities while we're friends. And we stay in that energy. And if over time we see that they keep repeating living their life that way, and that's not our truth, and we see that they have these issues they need to work through, we wish them peace. And eventually, you know, we're probably going to move on with some people who have worked through some of those issues. You know, we all went through this age 15 to 18 to 21 to 25. You know, does it mean that you can't get in relationships with people that are different age groups? No, because people could have different emotional maturity levels. But I'm just saying, it's kind of like, if you've kind of detached from a certain way of living life and other people are still like in that phase of life, and you already kind of found that somewhere along the way you kind of found it eventually emotionally unfulfilling, just like who wants to be a 15-year-old forever? Who wants to act like an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old forever? You know, I'm kind of ready to go to the next phase of life and grow up and mature myself. And I'm kind of holding back and choosing and calling judgment on that old way of living life. I don't want to go back to living my life like that. And the same way you can go out in the world and you can meet people, and it doesn't matter how old you are, you could be 35 to 65, and you could meet people and they're kind of immature and they're stubborn and they're bossy and they're controlling and they're manipulative and they're petty, and it's just like, oh my God, I feel like I'm back in junior high. I cannot believe you are 35 to 65 years old and you act like this. But, you know, some people stay, that's their way of operating in the world. And, you know, they've probably had other people kind of distance themselves from them, but that is kind of, you know, they rationalize it. They think it's just and fair. Somehow they think it works for them, you know, and other people moved on from that way of being, you know. So, some people right now could be trying to think about what their truth is. At any given moment in our life, we can keep moving forward the way we've been moving forward, but are we willing to see, wait a minute, why am I moving forward like that? You know, because again, just because we're moving forward in one way doesn't mean it's the right way, right? Are we kind of living more from our mind than our heart? Are we kind of more caught up in ourselves? Are other people moving forward with us for reasons? Are we dealing with the truth? Are we doing it more for reasons that really aren't aligned with my truth? Maybe I need to take some time to look at life differently and to really think about what how I would really like to move forward, and sometimes we need to take that time. And then maybe people would be deciding, if I have been moving forward in a certain job or career or relationship or living life a certain way, do I really want to keep doing that? Maybe if I take this time to pause and reflect, and maybe before I move forward in some things, I need to work through some issues, because if I move forward in something and I still haven't worked through some of these issues, I still might not be kind of being more open to love, or, I could still have these issues that I'd kind of be trying to drag with me, just kind of ignoring them. And at any given moment in life, there could be some people thinking, the people I am moving forward with have hope and faith and belief in a dream. I think those people want me to be more authentic and loving and tempered in my ego. And I would have to grow up and mature myself. I think I might decide they can move on. I'm going to go repeat this old pattern. And I'm okay, they could think, repeating that old pattern where it is, sometimes we have people in our life who are encouraging us to love and believe in ourselves. Then we can have other people in our life who are willing to be in friendship and relationship with us where they don't require that of us, right? So it's like, oh, well, those people seem kind of stuck, and they might not view life the way these other people view life. They also might not know the truth about me. And maybe I could just start all over with someone else, and I could do this whole relationship process with them, and I could be in a relationship with them maybe for 5 or 10 years until they really start to want to bring the dream into reality and want me to temper my ego and have worked through some of their issues to love and believe in themselves more. And then I'll let those people go, and then I'll go find someone else who might look stuck, who might not know the truth of who I am. And, so that's the moon, where people aren't illuminated to the truth about some of these people, whether they're male or female. And I'll just go create that illusion with someone else. Well, when there's some people in the world who kind of have these illusions, and they could think their dream is going to come into reality. Well, if they do get in a relationship with someone who is more on the same page as them, who also kind of doesn't want to look at life from a different perspective, who also might hide that they're kind of more not wanting to step out of their comfort zone or be more authentic or grow or heal or mature themselves, and is kind of more caught up in maybe the worldly dream and living more from their mind than their heart, well, then that would be a just and fair relationship, because they're in a relationship with someone who views life just like they do. It's just that it might be two people or a group of people that aren't really very authentic. It can be more about the ego and the image and how they present themselves in the world, but they're not very just authentic, genuine, loving, maybe encouraging people, because it is still kind of more about the world and caught up in the world, or fear of love. And if they're both fearful of love, and they can live more from their mind than their heart, and they both can kind of be more defensive or less authentic in a relationship, that would be a just and fair relationship. And then high vibe people want to be in relationships with other people who are kind of more on the same page as them. And the people right now that could see they're kind of in a more mismatched relationship, some of those people could be getting out of those relationships. The high vibe people kind of see the truth. that were not on the same page, the people who might have been more about themselves or ego or immature or manipulative, they're kind of getting the clue that the other people are, going to move on in this new way, which they wouldn't probably like because they could have been viewed life one way or just kind of been more codependent or caught up in the world. And now they look at life differently, so they don't really want to be in the relationship. And so we all go repeat old patterns until we are willing to learn the lesson we're meant to learn from it. And some high vibe people have offered people truth and love. And if those people aren't willing to be more authentic, reveal the truth, act in truth, more inspired to be not more about themselves and these things of the world, to have more balance and a more maybe emotionally mature relationship, they're leaving. And as they're moving forward, they're communicating with people in their life because they have gotten out of their ego. I learned these lessons in life. And when I made my free will choices to pursue certain friendships, jobs, and relationships with people, and I didn't pursue certain job, friendships, or relationships because I went on this journey to learn this lesson. And now I've kind of learned these lessons and I've learned to make better decisions in my life. And I have healed and worked through some of my issues. They're not in their ego anymore, and they're offering love and encouragement and truth to other people in their life. This is how I'm moving forward. Sorry if I could have hurt you. The Page of Cups can be an apology. Sorry if you felt stuck and confused why I maybe didn't get more involved in a friendship or relationship with you, or I got out of it, but I was kind of caught up in these things, and I'm willing to reveal the truth and be authentic. And some people who previously could have been moving away, viewing some people as caught up in something, when other people communicate them the truth and illuminate the truth, then some of those people are like, well, I'm glad you told me the truth. And I'm glad, generally loving people are happy that other people work through their issues, and they could say, yes, let's get back into being friends again, or I'm glad you worked through that issue. If you want to come work for me, if it's a job, because Capricorn can represent that. And another way this could be looked at is that, other people could be thinking about who are the people who do put in work and effort, and who seem to be the people who don't really put in work and effort, who do seem to be the people who are inspired to work together, say it's a job, and who seem to be the people that keep thinking we're just going to keep indulging them maybe in their poor behavior. And they could be communicating with some people, we wish you peace, but I think this has gone on long enough. We've kind of been illuminated to the truth that you keep choosing to repeat these old patterns instead of kind of maybe putting in the work and effort that we'd like you to. And we're just not going to keep indulging you in the same way people can tell people that in relationships. There comes a point in time where Judgment Day happens, and the more shadowy people can always be shocked because the loving and encouraging people had been loving and encouraging many times. But there comes a time when there's Judgment Day, and it kind of reminds me of some of those things in the Bible about revelations and stuff that, it comes like a thief in the night. You don't know when it's going to happen, and some people were in this illusion, oh no, they're going to keep indulging me in this way. They're not going to ever stand up for themselves. They're suckers. They keep believing I'll change, or they love me, or because I have these certain traits, qualities, or characteristics or education, they won't let go of me. I'm too valuable. That can be people full of themselves and their ego. And then they could be shocked that other people kind of saw through the illusion and did have mental conflict with them, are tired of indulging them in their poor behavior, and eventually they move on. So what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Leo energy that they might not see coming? The Ten of Swords. Why? Because of the Ten of Cups. So the tens in tarot can talk about closing out a cycle so that you can move forward and have a brand new beginning. And because some high vibe people were inspired to kind of deal with the truth. I don't want to stay emotionally confused about the truth about who people are. And I could be confused because I could have viewed some people as these more just and fair and stable and grounded, emotionally mature and loving people. But that's not how they're acting. And I have to come to the realization that, maybe they never were who they said they were. Because the kings also, doesn't matter if they're male or female, can represent how people present themselves in the world. But anybody can present themselves in the world any way they want. They can look the part. They can wear a very good false mask. They could have stability and security. They could be attractive. They could be charming. They could shine bright in the world in some way. But really, they're kind of emotionally mature. And they don't want to see the truth of it. And they could be kind of full of themselves and prideful and egotistical and just more about themselves and just are used to people letting them get away with this poor behavior. And the high vibe people were inspired to get to the truth and see the truth. I have been offering love and encouragement in truth and love, and they keep holding back from making that free will choice to move forward with me in that way. Well, then I see the truth that their free will choice is not to move forward in that way. And we kind of want to move forward in life differently. Their idea of the dream way to conduct themselves in a relationship or in a job is different than my idea. And because you chose to offer love to the situation and align with your more hopeful, believing, intuitive, believing in your dreams nature, from the 6 to the 10 of Swords, you see that there's some people in the 4 of Swords energy that you can't heal a relationship with them. And the 4 of Swords is Libra energy. I can't have justice and fairness with someone if what they think is just and fair is different than what I think is just and fair. If their truth and what they think is just and fair of how to conduct themselves in relationships is different than my idea of what I think is just and fair. And if they think it's just and fair to be bossy or controlling or manipulative or secretive or bossy or whatever, well, I'm going to let you go live that way with someone else. And you're no longer interested in trying to heal a relationship with those people, and you're taking back the 4 of Swords. And you healed, and you saw the truth, and you healed from any pain or heartbreak that you had from it. And you're happy, and you've closed out a cycle, and you are moving forward, having a new beginning. You did learn the lesson you were meant to learn. You had been in the 3 of Pentacles, but when we learn those lessons, that's when we have seen a truth, and you don't have an interest in repeating that past pattern. And you are holding back from those people. If I see you out, can I treat you like I like to be treated and treat you with respect and kindness, as long as you treat me in that way to get along in the world? Yeah. And plus, I don't have an interest in conducting myself in any other way. And if you choose to act in some other way that isn't treating people with respect and justice and fairness, I just see the truth that you got the free will to act how you want to act. And I'm going to move on. Wish you peace. Don't know why you act like that, but that's your free will choice. And I'm going to move on, and I'm not going to be in my ego about it. So you get to move on to the next stage of life, having a new beginning, on your way to having your dreams come into reality, because you are willing to see the truth. Your dreams can only come into reality with people who are willing to work together with you in a more just and fair and authentic way. And there could be people, the Ten of Cups could represent just people at one time that you thought you were going to be in a relationship with long term, whether that's friends or family members or a workplace that you loved, you know? It's like, I can't keep being here, and I'm not going to invest more time and energy and effort into it. I have offered like the highest energy of all: truth, love, justice, fairness, acting with character and integrity. And apparently that's not what people are interested in. Or that's not how they want to conduct themselves. And I'm going to let them conduct themselves with someone else. So you've closed out a cycle, and some other people are going to go repeat an old pattern. What's coming back? And sometimes some people, the Emperor can be where you're just willing to make better decisions in your life and grow up and mature yourself. And some people, they still struggle with being more inspired by themselves or these things of the world or something. And they don't want to make decisions and take, because High Vibe Emperor, if you were having to make decisions in your life where it was going to significantly affect other people, you would take those people into consideration. And there's some people who don't want to do that. I don't want to have to take other people into consideration. I just want to do what I want to do. If you want to stay in a relationship with me or work here anyway and move forward with me in this way, just know that it's going to be more about me. And I'm not going to look at life any differently. And I'm not going to deal with the truth of my more shadowy ways of being. And if you want to move forward with me in that way, fine. If you don't. But I'm not going to and don't want to really take responsibility for other people. And other people saw the truth of it. What's coming up for people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Leo energy that they don't see coming? The King of Wands, the Queen of Swords, and the Seven of Cups. And the reason is because of the Queen of Cups. So I view the Seven of Cups and the Queen of Cups as Scorpio energy. In High Vibe, it is about wanting to explore the mysteries of life emotionally and being in more deep, meaningful relationships. And some people's truth is they harness their Scorpio energy in a more shadowy way. Again, I like to keep my more emotional nature. We are emotionally complex human beings. They can be confusing. And some people just decided, I'll use my emotions as I need to a little bit, but I really don't even maybe care to connect in that much with my emotional nature. I think, again, I can use my emotions and my sexuality and my charm and my looks all, to look kind of like a shining star in the world. The Queen of Swords is Aquarius energy. And I might have a certain status and image and shine bright in the world in some way. I think there's other people who maybe feel betrayed, is what the Queen of Swords can represent, male or female, who are kind of willing to settle for the illusion. They're willing to be in a relationship with me more because I can look like love, I can talk like love, but it's just not a more deep, meaningful, authentic relationship. Shadowy can be, it's a little more superficial and shallow, and them kind of indulging in the relationship kind of the perks of being in a relationship and having sex and, status or ego or image or just enjoying being in a relationship. But it's not really to bring a dream of where we are more independent of our defensive, immature, egoic, self indulgent nature to really more authentically do love. And I think they could have people in their life, they kind of harness shadowy fire sign, shadowy, maybe air sign, maybe shadowy earth sign, and maybe water sign energy, where they're just still more caught up in the world. And at any given moment, they can have people in their life who would like to be more in a relationship with them. And have been these loving and encouraging people that don't want to get in a relationship with someone else. But, you can only keep offering people love and encouragement. And when they keep being more defensive, can be shadowy Queen of Swords, than willing to emotionally kind of stand up for themselves and to their more shadowy nature and defensive nature to do love, eventually the high vibe people in their life kind of feel betrayed. And they don't want to stay in a relationship that's an illusion. I mean, some of them will, but other people might wish them peace and love and they're going to move on. If you see your dream can't come into reality and that people are more caught up in these other things are more important in their life than love, well, I'm going to let you be in relationships with other people who think that. And they'll probably end up eventually in a relationship with someone like themselves. Someone else who emotionally is kind of more inspired to be in a relationship for the ego or the image or the status or out of their fear or their insecurities and they both then might stay in it for those reasons. And it's kind of more creating the illusion that it's love, but not really having a more deep, meaningful relationship. And if that's their comfort zone, that makes them feel more safe and secure, and it could make them look like they're got a certain status or image in the world that they wanted, and that's what's most important, then that's their truth, and that's what they're going to keep defending. Or if they're just more, it's more about me, and if people won't indulge me being more bossy or controlling or kind of stubborn or prideful, male or female, then you can go. And I'm going to wait till I find someone who kind of doesn't believe in themselves and believe in their dreams, who's kind of willing to indulge me in shadowy Leo energy because they have fear of becoming more independent or giving up some of these things to go pursue their dreams. And we have the free will to manifest the life that we want. And we either think that, no, I've only got these things of the world to work with, and if I don't have them, I need to go find someone else who has them. But high vibe energy is, I believe in myself, and I have my own unique talent, skills, interest, creativity, imagination, intelligence. I think if I work with the divine will work with me to manifest my dreams into reality, because the divine, the big picture, we kind of refer to it as God as high vibe energy and the devil is shadowy energy. The devil doesn't want people to give birth to new things. And sometimes we were in relationships with people who didn't want us to pursue our dreams, be more independent, be more authentically ourselves, because that's not what they do or how they live their life. And so then we could find them, shadowy devil energy and kind of more bossy, controlling nature is people who try to control you or manipulate you and restrict you and kind of imprison you. Don't give birth to anything new. Don't step out of my comfort zone. You need to live your life like this because this is how I live my life. It's like, well, if we're going to be in a relationship, I should be able to live my more authentic life. I'm operating from a place of truth and love. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm not being obnoxious or, whatever. I'm just trying to live my more authentic life. It's like, well, we don't do that. We make our life more about conforming to the world. That's the most important thing. It's like, well, then you make your life about that. And I'm going to go live my more authentic life because I don't make those things as important in my life as you do. And I think you also might be a little more superficial and shallow. And I want to be in relationships with people who are more inspired by love and having a balance. When's enough enough? And for some people also, the things they want to go indulge in or make their life about, enough is never enough. And if it's more about them, they can get worse and worse over time. It has to be more about me. I have to have more control over you. You have to let me dominate and control you more. Where the hell are you going? And it's just like, oh my gosh. Why do you feel like you have to control everybody or that it has to be so much about you being the center of attention? I'm going to let you go find someone else to make you the center of attention or indulge you. I'm done. And then they can feel betrayed that other people loved and believed in themselves enough and that whatever it is that manipulates them, you weren't willing to let it manipulate you. And that can just be the world. It can be other people in their life, things they're inspired by or whatever. And it's like, those things don't manipulate me the way they manipulate you. So you do that and I'm going to leave. And then they can be mad because you were part of creating the illusion of like how wonderful their life was. But you saw through the illusion of them. They weren't being authentic. It was more about these other things than truth and love. And then they're mad because you saw through the illusion, and then they got to go try to find someone else to create this illusion with them. And that's probably what they're trying to do right now. And some of them, the next person they tried to create the illusion with is done, and they're leaving too because they see this person is kind of got some unresolved issues they need to deal with. And the dream never really comes into reality. So there you go, Leo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.